Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय ओम विष्णुपाद सद्वैव्याचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सद्वैव्याचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Murmai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
rest until we have backward practice, it becomes a little like generally when we play a kirtan or we sing a kirtan, this tal becomes much more easier. Like Hare Krishna. Some focus has to go there also because I'm doing the first one. So therefore it does require, yeah, sometimes it just makes you that, but this
Later construction on the building. Huh? Building. Yeah. I just thought I would tell you, like, normally, some of the really things, it usually starts like this. Like what? Like the initial start of it will look like. Really? That's cool. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Chaitanyamanovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Tanvitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindanvaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Hevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I think maybe we're on 12. I think maybe Krishna Kumar started on text 1, chapter 8. Does that sound right? Does that sound... Okay. Okay. So we'll be reading text 12. Chapter 8, text 12 is where... Oh, no, yes. Jumping ahead a little bit. No, we'll be on text 12, chapter 8. We'll start there. Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. Text 12. Sarvadvarani samyamya manohridina hrudyacha murdyan yadayat manapranam astito yogadharanam. Translation. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Text 13. Om ityakaksharam brahma vyaharan manusmaran yaprayati tyajan deham sayati paramham gatim. Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Text 14. Ananya jeta satatam yomham smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Translation. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Text 5. Mamupetya punharjanma dukalayama shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramham gataha. Translation. After attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Text 16. Abrahma bhuvanha loka punarha vartinarjuna mamupetyata konteya punarjanmana vidyate. Translation. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Text 17. Sahasra Yuga Bharyantam Maharya Brahmano Vidohu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Deho Ratra Vidho Janaha. Translation. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Text 18. Avyaktad vyaktaya sarva prabhavantyahar agame ratr yagame pralyante tatraiva yaktasam yake. Translation. When Brahma's days manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night they are all annihilated. Text 19. Bhuta grama sahevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratyagame pashapartha prabhavatya harhagame. Translation. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved. Text 20. Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashiti. Translation. Yet there is another nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Text 21. Avyakto-kshara ityuktas tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya nanivartante tadama paramam mama. Translation. That supreme abode is called unmanifested and infallible, and it is the supreme destination. When one goes there, he never comes back. That is my supreme abode. Text 22. Purushasa paro partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya yasyanta stani bhutani yena sarvam hidam tatam. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. Text 23. Itra kale tvanan ritim avritim chaiva yoginaha prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharatarshava. Translation. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, one does or does not come back. We'll go back to text 12, starting there. Okay. Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. I haven't studied much of this chapter, so I'm excited to read Srila Prabhupada's purports, and hopefully we can take something away. We can come away from this class knowing a little bit more, becoming a little bit more realized about devotional service than we already are. Or at the very least, just relish the reading of Bhagavad Gita. So the translation of text 12 says, the yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart. In the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. Purport. By Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. To practice yoga, as suggested here, one first has to close the door of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. Sense organs for acquiring knowledge, such as the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy to remain in undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Krishnadu Prabhu, would you like to comment on? No? Okay. Well, we'll keep going to the 13th text of this chapter. Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice, Prabhu, please feel free to make any comments if you would like to, though. I'd most greatly appreciate it. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. It is clearly recommended in this age that if one quits his body at the end of this life chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, he will reach the spiritual planets. Similarly, those who are devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, or Goloka Vrindavan, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. The personalists also enter many innumerable planets in the spiritual sky, known as Vaikunthas. Text 14. Translation. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. In this verse, the Bhakti Yoga of the unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Godhead is described. The preceding verses mention 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation from material entanglement have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. But here Bhakti Yoga, without any mixture of these, is mentioned. In Bhakti Yoga, the devotees desire nothing but Krishna. The pure Bhakti devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. The pure devotee only wants to please the Supreme Lord. And so the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. The devotee can render service to any of the transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord, and he meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti Yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna is very merciful to those who engage in his service, and he helps in various ways that Krishna is very merciful to those who engage in his service, and he helps in various ways that devotee who is fully surrendered to him, so he can understand him as he is. I think there's some typos there in that sentence. What he's saying here that Krishna helps the devotee in various ways who is fully surrendered to him. And in that way, he brings the intelligence to him that he lacks. Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvikam dadami buddhayogam tam yenamam upayanti te. So Krishna is bestowing all this knowledge upon us. It's nothing through anything that we do, that we accomplish, that we can obtain it. Continuing on. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. This is quite a long purport. We'll continue on. I just wanted to make a note about what we heard this morning in Bhagavatam class, about how with the association of devotees, constant association of devotees, this process is made very, very easy. And this is the effect of such service, such association constantly with devotees of the Lord. Krishna says he's easy to obtain because we remain constantly engaged. But for as long as we have these lower associations in the modes of nature, modes of material nature, these impure desires, as long as we have these, then Krishna is impossible to obtain. So I recently heard, I think it was this morning actually, I heard it's said that every single verse in Bhagavad Gita is pointing to one verse specifically. You know what that verse is that I'm thinking of? That's not the one I was thinking of. That's a good one though. The one I was thinking of was Sarva Dharmam Parityaja. You know, I think Krishnendu told me one time that's labeled Krishna's flute. That's the verse, right? It's called Krishna's flute. The song of Krishna's flute, yeah. Because that's the purport of, that's what happens when we hear Krishna's flute, right? That's what happens when the gopis hear Krishna's flute, rather. They go running towards him. They surrender everything that society deems significant, and without a second thought, they give that up, and they chase down the only thing that can give us real satisfaction, which is Krishna. The only thing that can completely satisfy ourselves. Yayatma suprasidati. That verse, Savai Pumsa Pro Dharmo, fits in this verse very nicely. Because what we're talking about is a steady flow of devotional service that can only come about by unmotivated and uninterrupted approach to Krishna. So, Haituki, what's the other? Haituki, yeah. So I pumso pro dharmo yato bhakti artho shajaya haitu kyaprati hata yayama suprasidati. That's right. So we'll continue on. Just some few thoughts that if we don't keep proper association, right? And this means more than just grossly being around devotees, because I can be around a devotee and be miles away, so much further. Subtly speaking, I was thinking about how sad and lonely our position is, those who are conditioned in such impersonalistic ways, and how hard it is we find it to be intimate with one another. It's like, it's so sad, it's so lonely, because we'll be right next to each other and we'll be so far apart. And actually what's even worse is we become attached to that. We don't even recognize the folly in that way of operating. We don't know that that's just absolutely killing us. So I notice this in myself so much. I'll be around devotees, but it's like, what am I really giving them that's real, that's genuine? Am I letting them into myself? Am I revealing my mind? Am I inquiring? Am I trying to, understand them? So, like that, Rupa Goswami gives us, 6 loving exchanges with devotees, and if we're not intent on practicing those, and it's a practice, developing that, even just developing the will to want to do that is a practice. But we should be thinking about that every single day, about how can I take this relationship with this devotee a little bit further, how can I serve him a little bit more, how can I show him that I care and I appreciate him, I value him. And that value that I see in him is actually increasing day by day, or at least it should be. How can we exemplify that way of thinking? Through prayer is what I would say. If we're constantly praying, and if we're constantly thinking about these good qualities in the devotees, then naturally our appreciation for them will outpour when we're with them. So if we're always fault-finding and getting annoyed with the devotees, then and if we do that, if that's our meditation when we're alone, then of course that's going to come out when we're with them. There's just no other way that's going to go. So if we're upset with how our relationships are, like myself, I fall so short in the standard that should be met in devotee relationships. I have only one person to blame, and that's myself. It's like I'm setting myself up for failure. So I must, meditate on the strengths that I see in devotees. These devotees have so many good qualities and different potencies to carry out different services, and actually all this is Krishna as well, who's manifesting himself through the devotees. So we should be meditating on that, actually, that this devotee is very special. Look at how nicely he serves. Look at all of my shortcomings. Like that. And then we can stay sufficiently humbled to say that constant prayer of asking Krishna, please engage me in your service. Otherwise I'm thinking about how great I am. I'm chanting my name, and when I chant my name, I can't chant Krishna's name. And that's what we're hearing about here, is the effect of chanting the Maha Mantra. How this is the form of yoga that is accessible to us in this age. And how even the great transcendental syllable Om is contained within the Hare Krishna mantra. So, tried to bring it back around to a relevant topic. Prabhupada's talking a lot about the Maha Mantra here. What does he say? He says in the previous purport, text 13, he says, the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. It is clearly recommended in this age that if one quits his body at the end of this life chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, he will reach the spiritual planets. Simple. Very simple. Therefore, King Kulashekar, he prays, Krishna, let me die now while I still have my youth, while I can still chant the glories of your name, chant your holy name. Because at the time of my death, in old age, my throat's all choked up, and all these symptoms manifest, how greatly will I be able to chant your holy name? So take me now, while I'm young, while I'm strong. Completely outside of, most people are young and they want to use that youth for their own enjoyment, but the thought of a devotee should be, no, I'm young now, I have my youth now, therefore I'm strong in my mind, I'm strong in the service that I'm able to execute for Krishna. Therefore, let me give everything to Krishna now, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least I will have given him the best of my energy in the time that I could. Because as we hear coming up, Abrahma Bhuvanaloka Punar Arjuna Mamu Patyata Konteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest are all places of misery. And they're places of misery because they're places wherein repeated birth and death take place. So the devotee wants nothing to do with this. He's sufficiently understood that this is actually real. This is, my soul is eternal. And when I'm done here, depending on what I deserve and what I desire, I'll take my next birth accordingly. Krishna says, we just read, maybe in the last class, I think we did, that, we attain this state, the next state of life, depending on the consciousness that we have in our previous life. That's right. Yeah, so this is, this question of reincarnating, of coming back to this world of birth and death is actually, for the advanced devotee, that's not so bad as long as they remember Krishna. But that's to be considered. I mean, one can even be in the hellish planet and still be in the spiritual world. Vrindavan is always with us. It's just whether or not we've attained that consciousness. So, for the devotee who's constantly engaged in the remembrance of Krishna, or in hearing the pastimes of Krishna, or in chanting the glories of Krishna, right? Then it doesn't matter where he is in all the three worlds, or if he's beyond, in the Vaikuntha planet, in Krishna Loka, and anywhere. So it doesn't matter for him as long as he knows the Lord, he doesn't forget the Lord. So this verse here, text 16, it's not referring to a devotee who comes back to serve Krishna at Krishna's will. A pure devotee who might be designated here in service to Krishna is beyond this birth and death. Therefore, he's not in any type of place of misery. He's completely aloof from all sufferings that might be going on around him. All right, we'll finish this purport to, I jumped ahead, but we'll finish text 14's purport. We're about halfway through. Start with the special qualification. This will be good. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without considering the time or place. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Right? Always chanting Krishna's glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before Krishna. These are the makings of a great soul. In Prabhupada, he says, there should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. That's right. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, quote, wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan. Correct me if I'm wrong, Krishnadu, Jagannath Prabhu, or I'm pretty sure Sri Advaita said this after he tricked Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya really wanted to go to Vrindavan. He said what? Krishnadu says that Nityananda tricked him. They didn't want to lose Lord Chaitanya's association. So they spun him around a few times, pointed him in this direction, told him that was Vrindavan. And then actually when he got to the place that they told him to go, was it the Ganga? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So he... right. That's right. Yeah, because until Lord Chaitanya found out that where he wasn't Vrindavan, he thought it was Vrindavan. I mean, because obviously anywhere that he is, as we're hearing, is Vrindavan. So he's constantly in that atmosphere that's created by devotional service, which is, yeah, it's beyond what I can even speak about. I have no realization as to what that place is, but I mean, it sure sounds nice. We hear about some of these ecstatic symptoms that Lord Chaitanya, that was observed in Lord Chaitanya, and it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. So you can look at that and you can say, okay, that's clearly something better than what I've got. I'm over here worrying about the smallest, most trivial matters. I'm worrying about my body, which is, if we're intelligent, we can reason with that anxiety as incredibly if we know that the body is temporary, if we stop putting away that truth, and if we realize that the soul is eternal, then what I'm trying to say is we're free of all anxieties. Actually, all anxieties are brought on by these material designations that we misidentify with. Our body, our family, our race, our religion. These things actually create distinction between one another. It's crazy, the amount of distinction and how separate we view each other in today's world, when actually we're all the exact same, made of the exact same essence. We have our individuality, that's true, but there's actually no difference between what's in your heart and what's in my heart. And the soul that's controlling everything, that's the real doer of activities, who's also in the heart of everyone. So I was reading today that this is the qualified spiritual masters. When he looks at someone, he sees that Krishna is actually in that person. And that soul is part of Krishna that's being cared for under his watch. But identifying with this body that is temporary, with my family that will move on, which I've had so many already, so many anxieties develop. This is why wars happen, It's because I'm over here on this side looking at you thinking you're different and thinking my way is right and your way is wrong. It's a very simple solution, actually. If everyone just understands the science of Krishna, then we're immediately freed from all these worries, all these concerns. And this, I guess, starts with understanding the impurities within ourselves, because if we walk around thinking that we're perfect, thinking that we're pure, then what real changes can we make? What real progress can we have? We're just completely ignorant to all the work that needs to be done. I mean, if a builder doesn't want to remodel, if his building's falling apart, he thinks it's good, he's like, actually, it's fine, it's suitable for the customers, there's cockroaches in the corner, and the roof's falling down, and horrible smells. He's like, nah, it's good in here, it's alright, Is he going to increase his rating? It's probably a 1-star. Is he ever going to get to a 5-star rating? Not with that attitude. So we have to understand the impurities that are within the heart. We have to deeply inspect our anarthas and our misgivings with devotees and generally with all living entities. And then once we recognize that, we can take the necessary steps to purify it, A pure devotee, Prabhupada says, constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. 1. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service and neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. 3. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna. Haribol. That's really nice. How nice it is to have an elaborate. This is incredible that we can understand and then eventually even realize these different stages of devotional service, these different rasas or bhavs. Everything is so practical. In what Prabhupada is teaching, he's giving us a chance to understand it from an analytical standpoint, which is very important, especially in the West. We're so analytically minded. The whole world, looks to science as having all the answers. Therefore, to provide just some sentimental, some nice emotionality, no, we need the actual understandings of this. We need to know how this differs from other sectarian religions, because this actually isn't sectarian. This goes above all boundaries that are created by material religion. Completely. It's Sanatana Dharma. Yeah, it's eternal. This is the eternal religion. So underlying all religions actually is Krishna consciousness. That's the truth. Of all the great souls who predated the religions that mainly got things wrong, that misinterpreted what that soul was saying, or through the course of time was manipulated, who were outside of disciplic succession, didn't have the protection of a parampara. All these souls that predated these functions of religion, they knew this. They knew the science of bhakti yoga. They were teaching devotional service, loving devotion to the Lord, constant remembrance of the Lord. They knew these things. All great souls want to chant the glories of the Lord. They want to dance, They want to offer food with devotion to the Absolute. They all do these things. We all hear about these pastimes that are Bhagavatam, really. So they know this. It's only man's attempt to interpret, an imperfect man's attempt to interpret their teachings, in which they fall victim to being misconstrued and later misconceived by us, who are also imperfect and defective. But this is the difference between Prabhupada, and I was using this as a point of preaching the other day. I had a friend who's really Christian, and it's nice. He's nice, and he's a devotee too. You might not know it, but he's a devotee of Krishna. And he's saying, well, what's different between the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita? And the answer there is Prabhupada, because there are so many different Bhagavad Gitas that you could say the exact same thing about in comparison to the Bible. This has been interpreted, just for someone else's name and fame, and out of their own whims to manipulate the knowledge to serve their needs, their desires, which are totally impure. But the difference is we can look at Prabhupada. We have so much history, Prabhupada Leela, that we can scrutinizingly study, and this Leela it's very clear when one really gets into it, how relishable it is, how transcendental it is. And I find myself reading, Prabhupada memories or, books from his disciples, and it's so clear to me that every step that this soul made was so great. and was so entertaining, had this realization lately, is like, all we really need to entertain ourselves is Prabhupada Leela. Prabhupada Leela itself is enough to give up all sex life, all intoxication, all TV, movies, all these mundane outlets that distract us and drain our energy. If we just put everything there, because we need a little bit of enjoyment in devotional service. We're doing a lot of austerity, and actually all devotional service should be enjoyable. But in these impure stages, when we're starting out, we need a little bit of sense gratification. Therefore, it's recommended, take a little bit more prasadam. It's prasadam. It's transcendental. If you're going to do something like, serve your senses, then do it with prasadam, And then gradually we kind of develop, we move, we grow. In time, that happens. But it's the same thing with Prabhupada Leela. If we just keep diving into his stories, his Leela, his philosophy, if we just become Prabhupada conscious, then, Krishna, sorry guys. Well, then everything is made much more simpler, and life just becomes so much more bright and exciting.